Hi, I'm Ash. Today I'm going to show you guys how to make a penguin jar. Let's get to it. I start by getting my clay ready to cover my jar, and I do that by running it through my Atlas 150 pasta machine on the size 2 thickness. Once I have it ready, I'm going to remove the plastic seal from the lid of the jar because that will melt in the oven. We'll put it back on later. Then I'm going to lay out my clay and cut a nice clean line so that I can line that up with the lip of the glass jar. And then I will use the glass jar to measure out how much I need to cover it and cut it down to size so it's a little easier to work with. Once I have it down to the size that I like, I line up that clean line with the lip of the jar and using the heel of my hand kind of roll the clay onto the jar to try to force out as many of those air bubbles as I can. And then I will cut the line or the seam, whatever you want to call it, to, just cut off that extra clay. Then I use my index finger to roll it down the sides and push out the rest of the air bubbles. You want to get the air bubbles out because those could cause your clay to crack. Then I roll it up over the bottom of the jar and cut off the excess and smooth it all out. And for the lid, kind of the same thing. Cut it down to size, roll the clay onto the lid to get the air bubbles out, and then I roll the clay up around the lip and cut off the excess, and then just smooth it all out. I like to start with the wings, so I'll just smush out some clay until I get it to the thickness I like, and I have this teardrop shaped cutter that I use, but you could also just roll out a teardrop shape and flatten that out, or cut out a teardrop shape, whatever works for you. So I cut out 2 of those for each wing, and then I will smooth out the edges and just kind of flatten the wing out a little bit so it's not so thick. Get them to the size I like, and make sure that they are symmetrical, or as close as they can be. Once the wings are done, I'm going to do the feet. Kind of a similar starting process. I'm just going to flatten out some clay to get it to the thickness that I like, and then I will cut them into a triangular shape. Yeah, triangular shape. I'll cut them and make sure that they're the same size. Then we're going to make the little toe thingies. Are they toes? Do penguins have toes? I don't know. Yeah, so I get them to shapes I like, and then just smooth out those edges so they're not so rough, and I don't know, smooth them out. Toes, if they're toes, I use the silicone tip brush, which is a pointy thing, and I'm gonna roll it in 2 places and just push the clay to a point, kind of, not a pointy point, but a toe point. I don't know, like a ridge. And then I just smooth it out and shape it around until it's like a little flipper foot, like that. And then I do the same thing for the other one. Now what? Eyeballs. If you want to see how I make my eyeballs, you can go to my octopus tutorial. The video before this one, the first video, the only other video that I have right now. Yeah, I show you how to make my eyeballs on that video. I already had these made, so. Oh, here we go. I'm making a area for where the white part's gonna be, the white little belly. Then I'm gonna make the beak, and I think I do this 4 times before I get one that I like. But I just roll out 2 circles and flatten them out in pancakes, and those are the beak. Yeah, you put them together and make a beak. But I ended up making them too wide the first 3 times. These are not the ones I keep because they are too wide. So I'm just gonna narrow them out. Put them back together. There we go. And then I just pinch the edges a little bit and cut off the extra. Little beak. I'm gonna put it where I want, or figure out where I want to put it. Press the eyeballs in once I'm sure that's where I want them to be. I waited till I had the beak because it's easier to tell. And then of course I gotta redefine the belly because it was crooked. And to make sure that beak stays on, I'm going to use some liquid clay. This bottle is so old. I'm just going to put a little dab, and then I'm going to drop it. Then I'm going to get it on there. Since I can't really smush that beak on there without damaging it, I'm going to really gently kind of try to blend the corners of the mouth with this medium silicone tipped brush. And to make sure it stays on there, I'm going to roll out a little rope of clay, very thin, kind of flatten it out a little bit. Then I'm going to put that around the base of the beak, and I'm going to blend that into the body. And that'll just kind of reinforce that connection there and make sure that the beak isn't gonna go anywhere, because that would be tragic. Blend, blend. These silicone tipped brushes are my go-to. I love them. And I messed it up, so I have another silicone tip brush. This one has like a flat edge, and I just redefined that area there. Oh, cheeks. He's a cute little chubby penguin, so he's gotta have cute little chubby cheeks. So I just made like some kind of half moon shapes and press those under the eyeballs, and then I will blend the bottom of those in to the body so that he's got a little cheerful, chonky little face. Cute. Then we need to texture. So I use the medium silicone tipped brush again, and I'm just kind of pushing it into the clay. I'm not really dragging it so much like I would with like a fur texture, but I just followed it up around the eyes and then just from the top down to give him a little like feathery look, because he's a fluffy little guy. Then I'm gonna put the wings on. I don't need any liquid clay for this. I just push them on there. So it's a nice big surface area that I'm covering. It'll stick just fine. So we just smosh them on. Then I'm gonna smosh the feet on. I ended up making these a little too long, so I had to trim them down. But I just kind of position them where I want them and smoosh them on there. Now, no penguin is complete without a cute little tail. So I'm just making this kind of like a fat little triangle shape. I'm just going to put that on his bottom and blend in the sides. And I did texture the tail as well, but I don't think I put that on camera. I also texture the wings and the lid, which I got a little bit of that on camera. Same kind of process. That medium silicone tip brush, I'm just pushing. Actually, I used the big one here. Don't know why, but it worked out fine. And here. Weird. What am I thinking? Yeah. Then I'm gonna put this little metal snowflake on the lid. I'm gonna use this old Ziploc bag to create a barrier between the charm and the clay. And what that does, I just want a nice indent. I don't want to leave the metal in there. Makes it easier to paint. But then I have a little place to pop it back in later. Then I bake it 275 degrees Fahrenheit for 25 minutes. Now it's time to paint. I use this Peel Tech masking fluid on the eyeballs. When this is done drying, I will paint the piece, and then this peels off, so it makes cleanup a little bit easier, so I don't get paint all over the eyeballs. So I'm just gonna paint them black. I have this Anita's Acrylic Paints. I use only acrylics in a wide variety of brands. I don't really have a favorite brand, but I use Folk Art, Anita's, Deco Art, whatever. I just pick whatever color I like more than the brand. This one's Folk Art, yay! I'm gonna use the orange for the beak and the little feet, but first I paint that little belly white. And I do end up painting the feet white as well because it just makes the orange pop out better. I think I'm explaining that right. Oh my gosh. But I did get some black on the feet. So instead of trying to paint the orange over the black, I painted the white, then I painted the orange over it. So it just gives better coverage. Yeah, better coverage. Look at those cute little feet. That's it. I mean, that's not it. We got a long ways to go, but paint the feet. Paint the beak. At this point, my husband walked in the room and I put down the penguin to talk to him for a second and forgot what I was doing. So I ended up not liking this orange. It was too bright, so I ended up mixing a lighter colored orange with that bright orange. Just kind of dulling it down a little bit. You can kind of see the color difference here, but I do go back and paint the feet. Once everything is dry, I made this dark gray color and I'm going to dry brush this on top. That's how many coats I used. Dry brushing, you just put a little bit of paint on and then you dab most of it off and you just lightly brush it. You can see that texture really starting to pop out once you dry brush. That's what dry brushing does. It's a wonderful technique. I love it. Yep. Look at that texture. Bam. But that sticky note was just saying I used 3 coats of black. I think it said 4 coats of white and orange. But coverage will definitely depend on what brand of paint you use. Sometimes you need to use more coats if a paint is thinner. But this, I wasn't really thinking this through. I should have dry brushed before I did the orange and the white, but I didn't. So I ended up having to go back and I touched those up off camera. But once the painting is done, I like to seal it with some Sculpey glaze. This is the satin finish. I like to use this glaze because I know that it will not get sticky. It is made for polymer clay. It's an awesome product. It dries pretty quickly. I am not paid to say this, but if Sculpey wants to sponsor me, that would be fantastic. Anyway, some sealants will not work with polymer clay and will turn sticky over time and ruin your piece, so please be careful of that. Once the glaze is all dry, we're gonna peel that eyeball stuff off and clean up all the glass and get up all that paint that doesn't belong there on the lid and all that. Put that snowflake back in with some E6000 so it's not gonna go anywhere. Then we put that plastic seal back on and it's done. He's so cute. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. If there's another animal you'd like to see me sculpt, drop it in the comments.